type of high-pitched voice is what you see in kabuki theatre, which seems to be devised so as to be heard in a large theatre. It carries a long way, typical of the sumo basho, sumo tournaments. Takanohana now, recently in recent tournaments, has got stronger and stronger and seems to be coming into his own. He's 23 years old. He was won his first tournament when he was 19 years old, almost, not quite an all-time record, but not far from it. And he's now won 11 tournaments. The greatest number of tournaments that anybody has won is 32, and that was won by the great Taiho in the 60s. So he's got a bit of a way to go to beat the records of the past champions, but he's young enough to do it.
So this is the favourite on the left of your screens, Takanohana. And it's hardly surprising that the tensions will start to build now, because it's the grand champions, which really is the ultimate in scalps to take in sumo.
What is interesting is these two guys are both from the same stable, which normally would never happen in a major tournament. They're both from the Futagoyama stable. And of course they fought many times, but when it comes to a tournament, this gives Takanohana an advantage, because there are quite a number of people you'll never meet in a tournament, because there are about 7 or 8 people from his same stable in the top ranks, whereas Akibona would have to fight the lot of them.
And very easily thrown with great speed and balance, and the grand champion goes through into the next round really quite easily and with great skill and ease.
Well, that was an easy win for Takanohana there. He's got the underhand grip on the right, but then with the overhand grip, he twists and turns, uwate nagi, overhand throw, and he handles Misugi Sato without too many problems. He's obviously done it many times in training, and Misugi Sato looked to me as if he went over a bit easy.
And there the traditional throwing of the salts to purify the ring. Kenko's shining sword up against Koto no Waka. Koto no Waka has the weight advantage over Kenko, both wrestlers of a similar height and grading.
Koto no Waka slightly heavier of the two, 4 stone heavier than the other man. Kenko, on the other hand, has defeated a Yokozuna in a previous tournament. But both of them have got various prizes. Komusubi Kenko, third from the top, versus Komusubi Koto no Waka. Komusubi means little knot. But the origins of this name go back into antiquity, and nobody's quite sure what it means. Yokozuna means side rope. And that also, the origins of are not too clear. Quite often in Shinto shrines you see a big white rope that's hung up on venerable ancient objects, and the sumo men being the biggest and the strongest in the land, it's natural that they should have a white cable around their waist.
Well, the ref says time is enough.
Kenko trying to twist him off there, yes, and he succeeds. The wooden fan that the referee wears there is called a gumbai, which means war fan. Originally, samurai used to have iron fans, which they would use for defense and offense. There you see, pushing the head down and twisting on the belt, forcing the other man down. Uwatte nagi. There you see, overhand grip on the belt, pushing the head down as well. And then he hits the sand. Sand has a double function. Sand just outside the rope circle there indicates if anybody steps over. There's usually a mark left, so that's used by the referee to see, in cases of doubt, whether anybody had stepped out. Even if the big toe goes out, it's a loss.
Wakashoyo and Koto Inazuma. Now, remember back, Koto Inazuma was responsible for putting out the heaviest man in the competition, Konishiki. So certainly has no problems with handling the size. Koto Inazuma looked very impressive for us, and Wakashoyo, similar height, with perhaps the weight advantage over Koto Inazuma. So this will be an interesting bout.
Wakashoyo's nickname in the sumo world is Baba. And Koto Inazuma did some judo before. Quite often the ones who've done judo are slightly more technical than the others who haven't. Wakashoyo comes from the same stable as Takanohana, which currently is the #1 stable because it's got so many of the top wrestlers in, and of course all the young aspiring sumo wrestlers try to get into the Takano Futagoyama stable. Gigundus. Time's up, says the ref. Here the wrestler's breathing hard there. That's a lot of weight they're trying to shift.
And it's very evenly matched, both close to a result there. Right on the edge now.
Oh, that's... I can show you wins that one. It's amazing how it changes. Looked like Koto Inazuma there had the upper hand, and yet maybe he tired. Just that twisting, turning action can change anybody's fortunes.
Asanowaka has quite a stiff task on his hands here. Wakanohana, the champion, not great or grand champion as his brother is, but also looked very impressive. And we see the slow-mo here. This is where it was getting pretty mean, Sid.
Yes, it's quite open at this point. Both got similar grips. Yes, look at pushing the head back, but the other guy's got a four-stone advantage and couldn't quite do it on the edge there. As he's walking forward. And then the overhand grip.
Asanowaka knocked out or took out the bigger man in his first round up against Wakanohana, the champion. 1 meter 80, 130 kilograms, taller but no weight advantage.
Masano Waka is fairly high-ranking Maegashira. Maegashira 3 out of 26 Maegashira. Favourite techniques are to come out pushing, and there, look, he throws that salt down. When it comes to the final bout, he's going to have a go against the Ozeki Wakanohana.
Well, perhaps getting a little oversight, pushing too hard too soon, and the experience there of Wakanohana. He's seen many a heated younger man before and knew exactly how to deal with that challenge.
He comes out hard and fast there, but Wakanohana anticipated that and just retreated slightly, turned, down he went.
So another champion is called to the stage, Musashimaru, another Ozeki champion, up against Takatoriki, a lightweight in comparison, and will certainly look the smaller man on the stage. On the left of your screen is Musashimaru, grand champion, I should say, one off a grand champion.
Musashimaru hasn't been that long in sumo. His first bout even as a low-ranking wrestler, beginning wrestler, was 1989, so he's been 6 years in sumo, but he took him 2 years to get into the top Makuuchi division, and since then he's had something like 250 wins in the Makuuchi division against 100 losses. So his win-loss rate is very high, very strong. He's had one basho win, and he gets stronger. Still a young man, 24, a bit like Takanohana. A lot more sumo ahead of him.
Takatoriki's name, it means fighting strength, and he'll need all of that fighting strength. Musashimaru not quite ready to settle down. It's all part of the game.
Yeah. See, there when they come up to the shikiri-sen, the line, quite often they sweep it with their feet, just almost a nervous gesture. You don't really need to do it, they can see where it is. But not yet time to go. There you see a real Nirami eye stare out. When they go back for the final, just before the final bout, the attendants at the side, the men in the corners, stand up, and that's a signal that the bout is about to begin for earnest, in earnest.
Well, landing in the crowd there, taking a few photographers with him, but again, they say that he's one of the masters of this push technique. Musashimaru moving quickly as well to stay in front of his opponent there. And again, the big man shows that it's not only his strength, but there's some agility and speed of movement there, Sid.
Yeah, he comes out very hard and fast. Interestingly, the seats just around the ring, which are the very expensive seats, are called the sunakaburi seats, which is the sand-strewn seats. And that means you not only get sand in your lap, you get wrestlers as well sometimes. There's a good example. 26 stone falling on you. Yes, Musashimaru just kept on thrusting, pushing. Wherever he went, he followed him round and then just shoved him out. Yeah, you see a push in the chest. And on to the judge.
Looking for a place in the last 8, Higo Noumi, the left of your screens, Asenosho on the right.
Higonomi means the Sea of Higo, a place name in Japan. A lot of these wrestlers' names have Yama in, mountain, or sea, or noble. Lots of things connected with nature. Asenosho means the soaring morning. And Asenosho, ex-amateur sumo champion from the university sumo clubs. Rep says kamaite, which means take your positions. And as they get near towards the end, he'll say matanashi, time's up, kamaite. And then they'll have to go. If you go to a tournament in Japan, when the lower ranks of the 900 wrestlers or so fight, you'll see the referees in much more plain outfits, quite young boys sometimes, learning how to be a referee amongst the lower ranks. Good slapping attack there. Good putty attack. Kept up throughout the bout by Higonori.
Asenosho goes through. And again, very fierce and focused from the beginning.
Yes, here you see the fast slapping attack, pushing away, slides off, both men pushing hard with the slap under the chin, but then eventually one slides off to the side, latch onto the belts, and then a kuridashi from behind, push out from behind.
Takanonami on the left of your screens. Kitakachidoko, Chidoki. It was the man who was in that, well, certainly didn't approve with the crowd. Controversial decision when the jury came into the stage with that judo throw put upon him by Koto Nishiki, and was given the decision as Koto Nishiki put his knee down on the floor to actually aid the throw. Kita Kachidoki.
Kita Kachidoki.
That's the one I'm looking for. Kita Kachidoki. But Taka Nonami, of course, champion at Ozeki grade. So the performer on the left, his favorite.
Takanonami Ozeki is somehow got the authority. Confident, settled down. Kitakachidoki, been around a long time, likes fishing. Slightly too relaxed, perhaps.
I think you're right, Sid. Kitakachidoki looking unsettled, and it's often the way in many a sport where grades play such an important role that just knowing that you're up against an opponent that is of a much higher ranking can work either way. It can psych you to try and take the scalp and often frighten. See if we can see the first upset. The form book is pretty much going the way it was anticipated to so far in this event.
Lovely turn there by the Ozeki. A lot of experience. be able to do that in a top-class competition. Was going Kida Kachidoki's way, but settled down a bit now. I think Kita Kachidoki lost that one. He touched down just before.
Well, again, Kita Kachidoki finds himself requiring the jury to step into the dojo. That really will perhaps take the close-up and slow-mo camera work.
In Japan, they have a closed-circuit video link to the chief judge, and there'll be two judges off who will look at the action and relay their comments down to the chief judge. So it's slightly more closely monitored in Japan than for this tournament. Chief judge usually sits under the red tassel. Red tassel signifying the summer, season of summer. Takanonami wins.
Takanonami, very close there indeed. Well, perhaps a lucky escape. You need to look very carefully indeed. Kita Kachidoki finally being put out of the competition.
Look at that turn. It's quite a good mix of all the classical elements of sumo there.
That was really well spotted, Sid, that last bout, and this is once again the closing bout for this round before we cut them down from 16 to 8. Tochi Niwaka, and who is an Ozeki champion, very interesting against the grand champion Okibono. So this really will perhaps be the closest.
Tochi Niwaka has already beaten 3 grand champions, so he's got this giant killer reputation. So it's an interesting, it's going to be an interesting match, this one. He's obviously got the ability to beat the Yokozuna, and he's won a lot of prizes.
But this is the big favourite, Akibono, 26 years of age. And there, the staring out, the eyeballing begins.
It's almost a 10-stone difference between the two here. Akibono at 35 stone, 222 kilos, right, 158 kilos, 24 stone.
Well, he's the big favourite. It's not going to let anything
Akibono, sometimes if he can't push the other guy out, thrust him out, and has to settle down on the belt, sometimes loses when he hits that situation. So he has to use his bulk to get the man out quickly, or his long arms to push.
Akibono on the right of the screen's big favourite for this bout, goes for that push immediately, and that is his plan that's worked now 2 times in succession. And Tochi Niwaka goes out, and Akibono continues to progress through and quite easily makes his way through to the last 8.
Very classical sumo there. They say there's 2 types of sumo, pushing or thrust sumo and belt sumo, and here you see pushing sumo. Needs a strong wrist, strong arms to push all that weight out. But the sumo fellas practice this type of push on a big, solid wooden pole that's buried in the ground in their stables.
So, 8 remain, and we really do start to put some of the top names of sumo wrestling up against each other. The grand champion and the favorite noble flower, Taka Nohana, up against Kenko. Kenko meaning shining sword. On paper, Taka Nohana is the favorite for the competition. And this is the quarter-final. There are the 8 remaining. Wakishoyo against Wakanohana. So the brothers still in the competition. Takanohana really has been impressive throughout, and so has this performer, Kenko.
Kenko's had quite a bit of experience in sumo. He's had something like 660 bouts since he first started, and 115 or so in the Makuuchi division. Rank-wise, of course, he doesn't compare with Takanohana. Yokozuna, Takanohana versus Komusubi Kenko. Not about you'd put money on. Takanohana, probably the biggest star in Japan, bigger than any pop star or any actor. He's married, and his wife's expecting a baby shortly, so perhaps he's got other things on his mind. Well, Takanohana won that one without too much trouble.
And that's the easiest qualification he'll find through to the semi-final. Both of them almost slipped at one stage, and one thought that the grand champion had made the error first, but it was Kenko who, like his opponent Takanohana, was slipping on this sand, and Takanohana just stands his ground as Kenko slips underneath there. And of course the body is not allowed to touch the ground within the ring, only the soles of the feet. Second bout in this quarter-final is Wakashoyo up against Wakanohana.
So now we have the brother of Takanohana, one rank down, Ozeki, both from the same stable. Also fighting Wakashoyo from the same stable. Interesting to see in this case, seniors tend to have the psychological advantage in Japan. It'll be interesting to see what sort of a fight Wakashoyo puts up.
Wakanohana, champion.
Wakanohana favours the basically grabbing hold of the belt and forcing the other one out. Whereas Wakanohana's also a belt fighter, but tends to favour the throw, the overarm throw, twisting and throwing.
Well, there is the grade of Wakashoyo. Just the Maegashira. So the wrestler here on the right, Wakanohana, big favourite. You see by the graphic there, just one grade short of the highest level. Still not quite settled down. Again, in goes the salt to the ring, traditionally to purify the ring.
Yes, referee announces time's up. And two from the same stable. Good heavy start. Looks like Wakashiro is making a good match of this. But well, Wakanohana had him on the edge there. Yorikiri.
So the brothers will meet, Sid, in the semi-final. Very interesting draw. Older and younger brother, the grand champion, the champion, and that really will make an intriguing first semi-final. But again, showing that he has the skill factor to go for what looked to be pushes at first, then looking for a throw, and finally almost dumping his opponent unceremoniously out of the ring and says enough's enough.
So far, when we've had two from the same stable fighting, the senior has won, and there's sometimes I feel slightly too easily. So it'll be interesting to see whether when the two brothers fight, whether the grand champion brother will get the nod. We'll see.
Well, it's always difficult to say when it's a family affair. But let's go into the second half of the draw for the first quarter-final there, and we have another Ozeki champion. And this time it's Musa Shimaru, formerly of the United States of America, and he's up against Asanosho. Asanosho, the lighter and smaller challenger, the big man on the left of your screens.
Sashimaru, before he started sumo, he was from Hawaii. His name was Penitani. He played some American football, so he's had plenty of experience of charging forward. Probably wasn't quite so heavy in those days. Sashimaru has been quite impressive recently, seems to be getting stronger and stronger. They say in Japan sometimes that a wrestler ripens, that his body fills out, his skin takes a certain colour, and then he acquires a kind of a stature and an ability, and then for a few years he'll sweep all before him. And Sashimaru seems to be heading in those lines, along with Takanohana. Big man, 31 stone, but he handles his weight well. A lot of muscles on the shoulders there and back. So Asanosho, he's got his work cut out here to take Masashimaru. Doesn't look too happy. Quick slapping attack to start with, and then settled on to the belt, which I feel is not Masashimaru's favourite. But he's big enough to lift.
Musa Ashimaru goes through to the semi-final in the second half of this competition, with one quarter-final left to decide who this champion will meet, and it looks like it will be an Ozeki against a Yokozuna, because it's Akibono next up, the grand champion.
Well, Masashimaru hoisted in there without too much trouble. Interesting to watch his face when he made the heave. Considerable weight advantage. And Yorikiri falls out on the edge. Easy now, he lifts. There is a peculiar rule in sumo that if you lift the man high and you walk towards the edge, you can step out yourself. You don't actually have to dump him out. Kuri ashi, they call it. But where possible, they try and drop them out beforehand.
Taka Nonami, a champion, 1 meter 97 in height, 160 kilograms, known as Noble Wave, up against the grand champion Akibono, 26-year-old American, who is 2 meters 3 and 231 kilograms. So Akibono has height advantage, weight advantage, and of course is of the highest possible grade achievable in sumo. There is Takanonami just off that top grade on the left of your screen. So the big favorite is the bigger man on the right.
Interesting names these pair have. Noble Wave. Takanonami fights Akebono, which means daybreak.
Well, Akebono must also be credited. He has one of the meanest stares in sumo. He really does stare right through his opponent and lets them know exactly what's on his mind. And it's one thing to get him out of that ring.
It's quite noticeable. These Hawaiian fighters, they've got a good line in staring Nirami eye. This is going to be a good one, I think.
Well, there's a lot of pride at stake here because the grand champion at the top of the other draw has progressed quite easily. Also, his brother, just a champion, has booked himself a spot in the semi-finals. So perhaps it's a little bit more pressure on these last two to decide the last semi-final place. But it's time to do business. Akebono on the right.
Ukuridashi. Akebono gets behind. Probably the worst way to win in sumo, somebody pushing you from behind and out. Nothing you can do about it.
Again, Akebono showing his skill and being able to read the opponent and react with such speed as well as strength. And one feels that he knew exactly what was coming after this first push. There, takes the hand behind, moves him to a very uncomfortable and weak position.
In fact, you can see that Takanonami gives up. He knew he wasn't going to win at that point, so he loosened up just about there. Yeah, he takes it easy now.
Another good example of the grand champion showing the skills required, and it's a big step between that level and the champion level just below. So we have 4 left to decide this evening's competition. It is the first of 3 days of competition, but you don't need me to tell you there's an awful lot of pride and tradition at stake in each and every one of these events. Perhaps this bout will be more intriguing than the final itself, as it is 2 brothers in battle, very rarely battling it out in competition back home in Japan. But for European viewers, live and exclusive to Eurosport, yes, it's Takanohana against Wakanohana, the grand or noble flower up against the young flower. And of course, Takanohana is the grand champion and Wakanohana is the champion. So in grading, the performer or the brother on the left has the advantage. But, well, Sid, I wouldn't like to separate these two, and I think there's even more than grading at stake here. There's a little bit of family pride on the table.
Well, I'm told that the 2 brothers get on very well with each other. There's not that sort of competitive edge that you get amongst brothers or siblings sometimes. So I don't think there's no sort of grudge match here at all. But I suspect that Japan being a very hierarchical place, that the higher man will somehow get the edge. It's almost Buddha-like features Takanohana has. His eyes are like some of the big Buddhist statues that you see in Japan. Takanohana east, Wakanohana west. Both from the same stable, same father.
Oh, and Takanohana on the left of the screen going in very quickly. The younger of the two brothers.
It looked to me like Takanohana jumped the gun a bit there. It settled down into Yotsu Sumo, classical belt sumo. 4 hands on, 2 hands on the belt. Hooking his leg around. Takanohana slightly heavier, I think. But Takanohana putting in a good fight.
Oh, right to the end.
But Takanohana got that. Takanohana, I thought was going to pull off the Uchari throw, the one where you arch backward at the edge and spin the other man out first before you touch down, but Takanohana forced him out.
And what a great bout. And superb skills, but the grand champion and younger brother gets the better of champion Wakanohana, and Takanohana is confirmed as one of the finalists.
Yes, there you see on the edge, starts to lift, try and arch his brother out, but there goes the foot. Right foot goes out before the other one touches down. Quite a lot of poundage there going over the edge of the ring. Take quite a few injuries sometimes when the big bodies crash out. Just there you see, arching back, but he couldn't handle the weight.
1, maybe 2 seconds stopping the younger brother and older brother bout. So who will join Takanohana? The question is, well, on the left we have Musashimaru up against the other grand champion. Only 2 of them, and they're both here tonight, and that is Akebono. There's Akebono with that formidable stare, and here is his opponent, another American, just 1 off grand champion, Ozeki, and as Sid Hoare, our resident expert, was explaining, he's risen to that grade with great speed and an amazing run of victories in competition. A very impressive performer, but the grand champion is Akebono, there depicted in the graphic and technical term known as Yokozuna.
It's interesting the way the draws worked out. We've just seen 2 brothers fight each other, Yokozuna and Ozeki, and now we have similar ranks, so Yokozuna and Ozeki, and the 2 Hawaiians, the 2 Americans.
Everything going the form book's way. We've yet to see the grand champion.
These 2 Americans, sorry Nick, don't come from the same stable, unlike the previous 2 brothers.
Musashimaru on the left. On paper, Akebono on the right is the favourite.
Akebono comes from a stable called Zumazeki stable, and the boss of that stable is one of the all-time greats, the first Hawaiian in Japanese sumo called Jesse Takamiyama. Jesse was one of the won a tournament, achieved many records in sumo. He had more performances in the ring than almost any other wrestler, won many prizes, and now he runs his own stable under the name of Watanabe Daigoro.
That's enough, says the referee. It's time to decide the second finalist. Oh, and he's gone. That was very quick. And that must be disappointing, one has to say, for Musashimaru, because easily disposed of out of the ring, and Akebono, the grand champion from Hawaii and the United States of America, will meet Takanohana.
Yes, the start of that was a brilliant crash. They both came forward very heavily. Look at that crash there. Both bodies slamming in. Almost no advantage to either of them. Weight fairly similar. But then Akebono pulls on the belt, gets round behind. A kuridashi from behind. Not the best way of winning, or not the best way of losing. And there you see, it's that left-hand push, turns the man, and hustles him out.
From 32, they are now 2. They are 2 of the greatest names in sumo wrestling, Takanohana and Akebono. One will, of course, move and fill that last spot that is available to claim the first night's competition here in the Bercy Stadium, Paris. We'll take a quick commercial break, but we'll be back with that final live here on Eurosport. Stay tuned for the outcome. We'll be back Sunday evening with the scores added together from those 3 events to give us the Paris Tournai champion of 1995. It's been 9 years since the Sumo Warriors have performed here in Europe and in Paris, and this is to decide who will be the Supremo for this evening. Takanohana, the grand champion at 23 years of age, is up against Akebono. The last time these 2 competitors met, the younger man, Takanohana, came out on top. That was in September back in Japan. Now, the question is, can the youngster once again get the better of the bigger man? He's taller and heavier, Akebono, the American from Hawaii.
According to the record book, Akebono has fought Takanohana and beaten him 14 times, and Takanohana has only beaten Akebono 10 times, but Takanohana's wins have been more recent, and Akebono had a series of layoffs when his knees were bad, and hasn't quite got back to his old form. So it'll be interesting bout tonight to see whether he can recover that loss that he had in the September Basho in Tokyo.
Both these grand champions have come to this final with relative ease. Perhaps the closest one was for Takanohana when he was up against his brother, Wakanohana, in the semi-final, but you can see the height advantage. There's a good camera shot of Akebono, who is a good 3 or 4 feet taller. East, Takanohana; west, Akebono. And believe you me, whether you're a sumo fan or not, there is an awful lot at stake. Well, because they're competing away from home. But as Sid Hoare, our resident expert, quite rightly pointed out, the younger man is slowly whittling away at the target of his 14 defeats by Akebono, and he does have the possibility, if this competition goes all his way, to actually pick up 3 victories here in Paris, which would just give Akebono that 1-win advantage.
Akebono has to come out pushing hard, thrusting hard. However, if Takanohana can get his hands on the belt, then he loses his advantage.
Oh, and he's right up against it, and he's out. And Akebono has taken the youngster and taught him a lesson, and it's now 15-10. And you can see the look of relief, a huge sigh from Akebono. He's delighted with that.
Akebono receives the prize at the end. There's the envelope with the prize, and he makes the gesture of the hands, the traditional gesture when receiving the prize. And despite the fact that it was a belt fight at the end, he nudged him out. He nudged Takanohana out, yorikiri, quite decisively.
And gets a revenge on their last meet at the Bashi in Japan in September, and that really was very impressive.
This is what they call the Yumitorishiki, the bow twirling ceremony, which is done towards the end of the Basho. It dates back a few hundred years when winners used to get a bow as a prize, and it's always done by a low-ranking wrestler. And now here you see the action from before. Very quickly settled onto the classical sumo, Yotsu sumo, the belt grip. But Akebono using his superior weight to nudge Takanohana towards the edge, and that's where he kept him and forced him out.
Well, one has to say, we didn't feel it would be quite as easy as that, and we were starting to side with Takanohana. But Akebono drawing on his experience in perhaps what what can only be described as a slightly unfamiliar ring here, Sid. A lot of the wrestlers having problems with a different kind of clay and sand used, and Akebono clearly drawing on that extra experience that he has over the younger Taka Nohana, and really making quite simple work of his final.
It might be, of course, that the Japanese they're not used to fighting abroad, whereas Akebono from the States feels probably in a more...
But here, the last chance to see the first of the 3 competitions has been decided, and the grand champion Taro Akebono has defeated Koji Takanohana to claim 1 out of a possible 3.
I have a saying in sumo, cry in training, laugh in the ring. Well, Akebono's laughing tonight.
And here it is, the camera close-up, the foot out of the ring and put down, and that was the fault that gave Akebono victory. For last analysis of 2 of the world's finest sumo wrestlers, but in this particular bout, well, seniority getting the better of the younger grand champion.
Experience, yeah. I think Akebono, it seemed when I watched him fight Takanohana in the September basho, that it seemed as if he lost too easily, as if his heart wasn't in it. And I think now he's kind of steeled himself up a bit, and he went for it a bit harder tonight. There was a bit more authority there, I think.
Well, of course, there is day 2 and competition 2 coming tomorrow, 2100 hours Central European time, and that's exactly the same time for our viewers in the United Kingdom. There is no time difference until the end of this month, and we'll be there, and more than likely we'll be seeing these 2 stars in action. We'll also have a full program for you on Sunday evening from 9 till 11. So if you've enjoyed the sumo stars from Japan in action, be sure to join us tomorrow evening. There was the decision that gave Akebono the decision, and the first of the 3 events to go the Americans' way. And Jacques Chirac, the president of France.
Alongside him, the head of the Sumo Association, Dewa Naomi, man who controls the whole of the sumo in Japan.
And a well-earned prize, and of course he'll take that prize and the score forward into the next competition, where there is also an overall award.